Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I want to talk to you about how not to get catfished like Manti Teo. There's a really interesting Netflix documentary out called "The Girlfriend Who Didn't Exist," and you may not ever heard of the story. I had not because I wasn't a huge follower of college football, but Manti Teo was in Notre Dame, just a rising star. Absolutely, everybody just loved him. A sweet guy from Hawaii, um, of Samoan descent, had seemed to have great parents, seemed to have a great personality, had great morals and ethics. Just a super guy. Everybody seemed to absolutely love him. Also coming from a Mormon religion, he seemed to hold his um, really strong views on good behavior and proper behavior. So he was just like the perfect guy. And however, as this documentary will show, let me see if I got the date straight here. 2012, in September of 2012, his grandmother died, and on the very same day, his girlfriend died. And so he went and told this to the media, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, how awful!" Well, it turned out that his girlfriend actually didn't exist. And you wonder, how in the world could this happen? And I want to give you this cautionary tale and show you a very simple way to never have this happen to you. It's not that hard to not get catfished, but you have to be really willing to do one thing, which is respect yourself a lot, and not say, I can't question the other person. I can't ask them. I don't want them to think I'm suspicious. No, you have a right to protect yourself. And if you do this, you'll never get catfished. Unfortunately, Manti didn't do that because he was such a sweet guy. Now, let me tell you what happened. Okay, so Manti here, what happened to him was he was online, and this was way before catfishing became a popular thing. People didn't really know about it. So he was like one of the first. Anyway, he went online, and there was this girl named Lene, and she was also from Hawaii. And so he's like, cool. And so they started up a conversation online, and everything seemed really cool. And he really liked her, and she seemed to understand him so well. And let me tell you something about psychopaths. What they do when they stalk you is they're totally interested in you, and they will relate to anything you say. So, for example, if I say I like something, like, I have a hobby or I like certain music, that person will say, "Oh, me too." Me too. And I want to let you know how you catch them when they do that. So let's say they say something like, "Oh, I do Taekwondo, Korean karate." And the other person says, "Oh, me too." All I have to do is ask them a question right away. "What kata are you in?" And they go, they can't answer that question. And then I say, "I love Bollywood. I love Indian Bollywood movies." And that person says, "Me too." And I say, "Oh, what's your favorite Bollywood star?" They got nothing. They didn't say Shah Rukh Khan, which is mine. They didn't say Amitabh Bachchan. They didn't say even Priyanka Chopra, who spends a lot of time in the US making shows. They don't have an answer because they're just faking it. Okay. So, but this is what a psychopath is good at. They're good at making you feel good, being there for you. And this Lene did a great job of it. But so what happened was they had these conversations over, I think it was 2-3 years. And no, he was busy with his college career, far, far away from Hawaii. And she was supposedly in California. And so he was so focused on his career. She had excuses for why they're not going to get together. And he's like, he's building this online rapport with her. And, back in the old days, people used to do this. They used to write letters for years. And, you'd read the letter and you get to love that person. And you couldn't wait to finally meet them. And sometimes it worked out. You met them and then you got married because you spent so much time communicating. You got to know each other so well. So that's what he thought he was doing with this supposed woman. Now, mind you, this woman does exist, but her face was stolen and a new name was made up for her. And that was what was on the internet. And the person who did that also set up a whole bunch of family people. Even this cousin. This is a cousin of this woman. Sure. No, this was actually the guy behind the whole thing. He was pretending to be her. Okay. So his name was Renaya. His last name is so long I can't pronounce it. Oh, wait, let me try. Renaya Tuasosopo. Okay. All right. So he was pretending to be her, and he was really good at doing high voices. So they got on the phone and they talked on the phone, and he thought he was talking to, Manti thought he was talking to a woman. Now, here's how he screwed up. He said, let's FaceTime. And her FaceTime never worked. Oh, come on now. This is a number one clue for you guys. This is how you do it. When somebody says, oh, this is who I am, how you prevent from being catfished is to say, get on FaceTime. There's no reason why you can't sit in front of a camera and talk to me. So get on that camera. I want to see your lips moving, and I want to see what you look like. So if you're telling me you're 20 years old and I see you on camera and it looks like this, I'm a liar, okay? I could pretend to be 20 years old, but if you see me, it's not going to work. So get that person on FaceTime. And if they have a million excuses why they can't FaceTime, they're catfishing you. Because if they like you, why wouldn't they want to FaceTime? Really, why not? Doesn't make any sense. Another trick you can use is to say, I want to see your license, driver's license. If you're getting into a real relationship or you're going to go meet somebody, let's say you're going to fly over to where they are, ask for, let me see your driver's license. Why not? Because, you use your driver's license, show everybody else. If you met in person, why can't you show a driver's license? Why can't you show it over the net? If you've been talking to someone over and over and over again for months, you can't come clean? That's because you're probably lying and you're catfishing. So anyway, he thought he was talking to a real person. He was in love with her. And he was naive. It's true. I mean, he was a church-going guy. So he probably thought, hey, when I finish with my college career, we'll get together finally. And then, oh my God, she got in an accident and she's like dying. And so the cousin even talked to him. Oh, she's in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And then so instead of dying from the accident, she apparently was found out to have leukemia. And that went on for a while. And then all of a sudden, right when this big game came up, his grandmother died that day. And this guy's trying to figure out how to get out of this fake relationship. He says, oh, she died of leukemia. So poor Manti is totally, horrified and heartbroken. But then it gets worse because eventually somebody figures this stuff out. And that's all in the show documentary. It's interesting how they figured out that she didn't exist and it was this guy. And the question originally was Manti involved in this hoax? And I don't believe he was, and nobody now thinks he was. He was just a naive guy who fell for this beautiful woman who didn't exist. And so, but it completely messed up his life, completely. He ended up, his mind wasn't in the game, and they lost the championship, and he went on to pro ball, but he didn't get the first draft. I mean, all kinds of, he just had a rough time. He's now married, happily married, and has a child, but his career pretty much was destroyed through this piece of garbage here, who now says he's trans and now is a she, and now calls herself Naya. And when you watch this Naya in the show, because this is who's talking, no remorse, always an excuse for, oh, why I did this and why I did that. This person is a psychopath and an absolutely cruel, horrible human being who messed up Manti's life. Okay, so he got taken. He totally got catfished. And I just want to point out to you some simple ways to not get catfished. And the important thing is to stand up for yourself, because someone who really likes you, they'll be fair with you. So I had this experience that happened just 2 weeks ago. Okay. And yes, I know I'm 67 and these things shouldn't happen to 67-year-olds because, you don't date that much, right? It's true. And so I got contacted by a fellow, not through the internet, but by a fellow I'd known 30 years ago. We had a similar hobby, and we had known each other through that hobby, but I was married and he, didn't mess with me. So anyway, after I got divorced, we had been in contact one time. He called me after my divorce, which was back in 2004. And I'm like, oh, this would be fun to get together with this guy, And so I did. And I ended up screaming at him saying, you're a total ass. You are such an ass. the biggest jerk I've ever met. And I walked away. And that was that. And then like 5 years later, he came to Washington, D.C. to one of our events. And there he was. And he said, how about dinner? I went, do you remember I screamed at you last time? And he goes, yeah, I know, but let's just have dinner. Okay. So I don't know what happened, but right after the dinner, we were standing outside the restaurant and I was yelling at him again, you're still an ass. So anyway, he disappears. That was 10 years ago. He called me a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was a month ago. And he says, hey, I've been thinking about you. And I'm like, why? Why? Because remember the last 2 times I yelled at you and called you an ass. And he goes, yeah, I know. My behavior, I admit you were right. I should have been better behaved. I should have been a better person. And I want to make it up to you. Okay. Now, I want to stop to say, this person, I'm going to call him Sham because it was a sham. Anyway, I'm going to call him Sham. On paper, we are a perfect match. And this is where you can't let your head get in the way. Perfect match. He's only 1 year older than me. And how unusual is that? Because usually if you're 67, nobody will date you who's under 80. They like younger women. The 60 guy 67 wants 47. So, my guy's going to be 80. This guy's actually just 68. It's like, what a deal. He's decent looking, healthy. We eat the same kind of food. We both have the same kind of cultural interests. We both travel a lot. We're both very independent. We both have our own businesses. Yeah, and he's a millionaire. Okay, not much to dislike about, and he's a genius. Okay, he's fun to talk to. We would be just a perfect relationship. I got to say, on paper, can't be better. So I'm like, okay, so you've already had 2 strikes. Now you want to see me? So he says, Pat, I'll buy you a ticket. Why don't you fly out to California? Let's give it another try. I'm like, really? You want me to come out to California? And then he tells me he had some eye surgery. So I'm thinking, so essentially, this is what I'm guessing is happening here. You've had some eye surgery, so you can't drive. You can't see enough to work. So you're willing to pay my $400 or $500 ticket. You're a millionaire. And then I'm going to spend, 10 hours, a whole day trying to get to California because, flying isn't fun and you're not buying me first class. So I'm going to go through some stupid hub. It's going to take me all day of miserable travel. I'll arrive and then you're going to install me in your house where I'm going to keep you company, maybe help cook for you, maybe drive you around. And of course you want sex, right? And so instead of calling Craigslist and paying $1,000 a night for what you want, you're going to just spend $500 on a round trip ticket and I get to do all the work. No. So I said, absolutely not. So then he says, well, I'm coming out to Maryland soon. A few weeks from now when my eyes clear up, I've got some work out in Maryland. We can meet out there. I said, okay. I said, I want to get a chance to get to know you a little bit before we go any further because the last 2 times weren't good. So he calls me up and he says, okay, I'm in Maryland. And he's about an hour and 10 minutes away in this godforsaken location in Maryland, which is on a peninsula. And I'm like, that's a terrible location because it takes you an hour and 10 minutes to get to my house or me an hour and 10 to get to you. It takes you an hour and 20 to get to DC or an hour and 20 to get to Annapolis. So if we want to do anything, it's a long dang drive. So I'm thinking, I'm going to guess he's thinking I'm going to drive the hour and 10 minutes to where he is in his bed and breakfast. And he's going to install me there instead of California, right? And I said, well, what about we're doing something together, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, we can go maybe we can go to DC, see some museums and stuff. I did not tell him before he came. This is how you protect yourself. I did not say it before he came. You ain't going to get sex when you get here. I waited till he got here. So he couldn't come up with some excuse why I wasn't coming to Maryland. I waited till he got here. And he's like, okay, shall we see each other on a Friday or Saturday? And I got on the phone and said, Friday or Saturday is great. But I have to let you know, Sham, I haven't seen you in 10 years. Our last 2 occasions, I yelled at you. You said you want to get to know me. Yes, I'm happy to get together with you, but there will be no sex. This is not a booty call to Maryland. We talked for about 10 more minutes and then oddly the phone went dead. And Friday came and I never heard. And Saturday came and I never heard. And And I put a block on his phone number. Okay, so what happened here? I protected myself. If this man truly wanted to see me and get to know me, he would have met me at a lovely restaurant. We could have spent the day out in DC, going to some museums. We could have gone to a restaurant, could have had a nice time, and then he would have gone his way and I would have gone mine. But he wasn't willing to do that because he wasn't interested in that at all. So when you're online and you're talking to somebody and they want to get to know you, they say they want to get to know you. Ask them first of all, get on FaceTime. I want to see your face. I want to know who you are. Show me. You've told me who you are. Show me your driver's license. You can cover up where you live if you want to, but I want to see your name. I want to see your age. I want to see who you are. And then the third part, never meet them alone. Meet them in a public place where you can get to know them and you're not giving them sex on that date. Those are three simple things. And guess what? If they're a predator, if they're a psychopath, they will be gone just like that. Just like my sham who just disappeared when he found out he wasn't getting any. So that's the trick. Value yourself enough to say, I'm worth that person being honorable with me. And I have a right to protect myself. And if that person doesn't think I have a right to protect myself, I don't want anything to do with them. They're not worth anything. That's how you do it. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to you because I really felt sorry for Manti. I think he seemed like a really nice fella. And I'm glad he finally got married and has a child. But he got his whole career screwed because he got catfished. Don't you get catfished, okay? That's it. If you like what I have to say, please do like the channel. Please do subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for more to find out what else I have here. And also check my playlist because I've got a lot of cases that I have analyzed as a criminal profiler and other thoughts on many topics. So I do hope I'll see you again, and I hope you learned something from this particular show. Bye.